Buddy, and Eric Thompson. Ready for that riff?
Michael Sokol, what an episode again. I mean, just these Pappies just keep coming out of the woodworks. It's just like there's dads everywhere.
And you know what's fun about reflecting with folks is the stories really are easy to tell.
Yeah.
And just to share and go, oh yeah, and this happened. And it just jogs your mind and memory from all of it. And really enjoyed, we haven't had a lot of conversation on our shows, but introducing your children to spirituality.
Yeah.
And talking about choice and some of these different things. But putting out what your family and cultural history is all about.
Yeah, and the openness to let them ask questions. I mean, listen, Lord knows they're going to have a ton of questions. Yeah. So we really enjoyed this conversation with Michael Sokol. I think you all are going to do it as well. Without further ado, let's do it.
Here's Michael.
Cheers.
He's going to, oh, there we go. Michael Sokol.
Hey, what's up?
All right.
I got to plug in this camera or we're going to lose it. Hold on a second. You going to, Sokol, what's up, man? How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Just trying to get out of vacation mode.
Oh boy, are you currently in a vacation destination right now?
No, I'm at my house.
Wait, is this a different house than what I've seen before?
Yes, very likely. We moved about 4 years ago, maybe.
Dang, yeah.
Way to pay attention there, Lucas.
I'm sorry, man. There's a lot of stuff going on. I have a toddler. We moved. We got married. All right, hold on. I gotta
since then.
Hang out. We're already started recording, but I am gonna get a power to this camera so we don't lose the video footage. You understand how important that is.
Do I?
Hey, thanks for joining us, man. I'm Eric. It's great to have you on, Michael. Cheers.
Hey, Eric. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Does it sound fine, or should I grab my AirPods?
No, I think you sound fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming through well.
You guys got fancy equipment here.
You've been on vacation mode, so no work for a week or two, or?
Yeah. Since we wrapped a movie on the 21st.
Okay.
I think I had a day of, other stuff I had to do for the, just to wrap out the film. And then what happened after that? I think my parents came in town and we took them to Savannah.
Nice.
And then my wife's a teacher. She goes back to school tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I work in education, so I'm so excited to go back tomorrow.
No, it's great. We love the kids. The kids are
yes.
great. You guys are making me feel really good about becoming a teacher. So,
I mean, I
wouldn't.
I've heard
the hours are great. I will say that. When raising kids, the education hours have paid off. That's that has allowed me to be involved more.
What I'm hearing is that it's fine for when you have kids, but once your kids are out of school, have an exit strategy.
The exit strategy, right? Too funny.
How's the education journey going?
It's going. I actually am just starting my first education classes.
Okay.
On the 20th of this month. So intro to education, multicultural education. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what to expect, but I'm excited to get into those.
Heck yeah!
I've enjoyed the classes I've done so far, and I don't know. I like getting smarter. I like learning things.
All right.
Yeah, I always knew that about you.
So how old are you? You have kids? I'm assuming you're on Pappy Hour.
Yeah, tell them everything.
Crazy, dude. I've got a 17-year-old now. Uh-huh. So I feel like a lot of the questions were like new dad. I'm like old dad,
Yeah.
Or not old dad. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of friends who are empty nesters now.
Yeah,
and
that's where I'm at. I've got kids are in their 20s, so yes, it's been sometimes freeing, but they come around enough that we get to see them. But so you got a 17 and
11.
11. Okay.
Wow.
So I know, Lucas, you're in a much different place. You're like, oh, we got past the birth. Everything's.
Yeah, I know there's a lot coming for me. Like, look, I have a daughter, and Even she had this shirt somebody gave her that said "Kiss me at midnight," and it's innocent, but I'm still like, part of me is like, she's not wearing that shirt. I don't want her to wear that shirt. I have a problem with that. She had some shirt on the other day that's like a size too big. Her shoulder was hanging out. I was like, I was in the mall. I was just like, come on, if we could just get this. And it's fine. It's whatever. But
I feel the same way about the color orange. So
wait, what? Why? What do you mean about the color orange?
All things orange are bad. Auburn, Tennessee. That's all.
Well, right there you go. That's so funny.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like when they're like, I think the years that you can really mess them up are like 12 and on.
Yeah.
That's when you. Oh wow! I thought, no, it doesn't matter what I fed them when they were 3. It's like, did I get them a cell phone too early?
Yeah. I stressed out the other day because I was giving her some juice. I'm like, am I introducing sugar too soon?
Yeah, I know. Those are easy problems. No,
Well, yeah. So you've got 17 now.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, so is senior or junior?
Junior.
All right. So
Wow.
getting ready to fill out applications possibly for universities, and is that
all that stuff. Going on college tours. That stuff. Yeah. So
Wow.
real stuff, like really like turning her into the world, giving her over to the world. You know,
That's
Jeez.
no doubt.
Do you remember the day she was born?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's funny. It's like things with the first one are more vivid, but also with the second one become more vivid. I mean, the funny thing, I think we look at birth as like a celebration, but it's also, in reading some of your outline, I'm like, it's also a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and so like the birth is like it's like, oh, well, we survived that trauma. Right. And it's not trauma like, it's trauma in that It's like you're watching someone go through pain or in some cases surgery, and you're helping them get over that, and it's traumatic in that experience. For the kid, it's very traumatic. I mean, it is. I mean, my like chiropractor put it to me, it's like one of the most traumatic physical things they'll experience.
Right.
And birth, I mean, going through that, being pushed out of a body, so it's a collective trauma. And so I think there is a euphoria that you experience after that trauma that lasts a few years, right? I mean, I had a joke, and I'm still in the state of like formalizing the joke, but it's like we're worried about, ICE is like spending all this time getting rid of immigrants. The people we should be getting rid of are new parents. Like they're absolutely unbearable.
Wait, what do you mean? How are we unbearable?
Oh my God, you're shiny, happy people.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Listen, I want to be honest. I am not always shiny and happy. I have experienced the extremes of like, I love this kid so much, and then there are times where I'm like, if you don't get whatever it is you need right now, I'm gonna talk. The other day I was carrying her and she had boots on, and like I was like, I wonder if I could hold her up by her ankles over the stairwell, but then I just pictured her. Listen, these are thoughts that literally, I'm not doing it.
No,
don't
you are
call.
not. No.
Okay, I'm just saying,
CPS,
I'm not as bright and shiny. I am. I know it's coming for me. I know I'm being super defensive right now, but
I'm just no. It's a joke. But what your PPD is? You know what your PPD is?
No.
Picture per day. I mean, you picture per day. Right. Okay. I and it's just like one of my you remember Brett Newton, I imagine, but he's a great friend of mine. He has 2 kids under 3. Oh, wow. And like he'll just talk to me. I'm like, that's the most amazing thing. I'm like, that is not amazing. That's called evolution, bro.
That's just
you don't want to rain on their parade.
Yeah.
You don't want to rain on their parade.
Oh,
it's like,
no,
I get
that's
it.
so cool.
It was once you, okay? But putting corn in her mouth is not a big
all right. That's true. You're right.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
You give me a little perspective. This is why we're here. I need this perspective.
She picked up a spoon. Yeah, good.
She said yes. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So what do you take us back, if you can, like that the leading up to your oldest, who's now 17, the birth, you said, what was that like, the days going on and the delivery? Do you remember that?
Well, first of all, we decided to do natural childbirth. Mm-hmm. So and I think one of the differences in just discussing this with friends is like people that are doing natural childbirth tend to focus mostly on like the birth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And less so on like, cause I think like we were like, oh shit, okay, this baby's here. Now what do we do?
Right.
And like our friends had all these plans, but we were very, let me get my dog.
You're good. I just locked Bridget upstairs a second ago.
That's
so
funny. Just wants to be involved.
She's barking at the neighbor's dog. Okay. So, I mean, I think we had like manifested, you kind of manifest the birth, and we did this thing called husband coached childbirth. So it really like,
what?
It was really cool. It was like, we did hire a doula, which was like it's like, it's like a way. It's a way for me to be the voice of calm, right?
I love that.
And so in our classes, like a lot of it is about. You watch a lot of births. A lot of them are like home births, which I'm like, no, that's not happening. But you do like through this process start to really manifest what the day is going to be like, and it doesn't all ever like compare, like, sure. But it does allow you to, I think, walk in a very calm, prepared manner. So, I mean, truthfully, like the day, she started to go into labor. We didn't freak out. We didn't like immediately go to the hospital.
Right.
We recognized all the signs of like early labor. I remember, a lot of the time she was just laying down, resting. I watched an entire Falcons game. We probably eventually went to the hospital way too early.
Uh-huh.
She hadn't like dilated enough, and so we were just basically sitting there as she was going through like early stages of labor, and like I don't think her whatchamacallits had even gotten to the point of like
the contractions.
The contractions weren't even consistent, and we were just like, do we go home? We're like, no, we're here. We went through all the paperwork and like. We have a room and let's just do it. The doula was like, yeah, I'm not going to come until there's like 5 minutes.
Totally.
And so like, it was long. It was like 36 hours of labor.
Oh, wow.
All natural, like, and then, she was sleeping. Once the contractions got pretty heavy, she was sleeping and meditating and in this,
wow.
And I was able to like, kind of gently tap on her and be like, hey, just let you know the contraction is it's about 20 seconds away.
Right.
And it was exhausting for me because I didn't sleep
at all. Right.
None of that. Right. She was thankfully resting.
Wow.
Comparing
did the Falcons win? Were you stressing over? Okay.
Good.
First of all, the Falcons won, but secondly, not a big Falcons fan, so it wasn't like
this was just busy time. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. It would have been a better story if it was an Alabama game. But,
there you go.
So just to compare the two, and I think it's funny because I say this I'm like, the birth is analogous to who they are as a kid.
Really
interesting.
My oldest takes forever to do anything. She was born in 36 hours of very difficult labor. My second is the most easygoing kid. She's very chill and relaxed. She was born in 6 to 7 hours and just popped right out.
Right.
Like, in fact, after the first one, we went in with the plan with the second one. I'm like, it seemed that the labor went a lot quicker when you were like on your hands and knees, like in a more gravity neutral position.
Sure.
He's like, you're right. And so we're like, so let's try and like spend a lot more time on your hands and knees versus your back. And so I remember she was on her hands and knees for a good amount of time. And at one point she looked at me and she's like, I do not want to give birth on my hands and knees. I'm like, got it. We're going to. And about 5 minutes later, she looked at me, and just probably is unconscious of what she's saying, because once you really get into heavy labor, you just lose all you lose all modesty and everything. And she looked at me and she's like, I think I got to take a shit.
Yeah.
Oh no. Not to freak you out, but you're about to give birth on your hands and knees, and it's going to be fine.
Right.
I remember looking at we didn't hire a doula for that one. We had her best friend come in, and she was there, who had also given birth naturally. And the midwife is like throwing towels on the floor, because I'm like, she's gonna punch. Yeah. And like a fucking quarterback,
you're just like, all right, let's go.
And took that baby on her hands and knees, and I was like,
whoa,
just like the videos. And I mean, there was no like, okay, we're gonna push again. It was just like, bam, baby came out.
Dang.
Wow. Holy cow.
She was an old pro. She'd already spent 36. She's like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was probably a little give on the organ.
A little give on. That's going to be the clip.
Give on.
But I mean, number two has been like the most easygoing, drama-free, pragmatic. Sleeping was always easy for her. Like, I mean, the two experiences define who they are.
Interesting.
Totally.
So your first kid was maybe a little more difficult at sleeping whenever she was younger, and
I mean, just things like that. I mean, like indecision, getting dressed in the morning for school.
Yeah, we wound up having to, for both of our boys, we had to have them get dressed before they went to bed.
They go to sleep in their clothes for the next day?
Clothes because we had to get up early for the bus.
Kind of a
but it
pro
was just
move.
like, oh my gosh, you guys are taking forever. So we eliminated that. We're just like, this is what you're wearing. They
I don't
didn't
know.
care.
Does
They're
that
just gonna sleep?
That works well for boys. I don't know if that would work well for.
Maybe not. But yeah.
You could.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like girls wear dresses to school. I mean, they wear athleisure. You know what I mean? Like, she goes to school
I guess it's different nowadays. I mean, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's even boy. I mean, like, there's no like I've seen kids wearing like pajama pants in high school. You know, it's just like, what?
It's so true. They're so relaxed. They're just like, I guess I'll go now. I don't have to get dressed.
Dang, man. Funny. So now you've had these kids for 17, 11 years. Do you even remember, like, before you were a dad? Like, what was life like before that? Who were you before you became a dad, and how did that transform everything?
I mean, I was, as you know, I was doing a lot of like performing improv and sketch, and making a lot of my own content, which I still did. But you know, I mean, I think that kind of, you know, was like, you had a lot more free time, and as a creative, I utilized that a lot, and that kind of is the thing that fell by the wayside. I don't feel like it was like doing blow 6 nights a week and like just put it in
4
perspective,
nights, but not 6 nights a week. Yeah,
we gotta eliminate. No, I don't. I feel like I was ready from a responsibility standpoint to be a dad. I don't feel like you ever feel like my mother-in-law put it best, and I loved it, and that's when I was probably like, okay, let's go for this. But she was like, you're never gonna feel financially ready, to have a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fair enough. I remember I had like, when we got pregnant, I forgot about this. When we first got pregnant, I was writing and performing for a sketch comedy program on Super Deluxe, which was a paid to write and perform sketch comedy, which was great. Yeah. And I remember we were like that we had maybe just found out or like just felt the tide shifting that the show was going to get canceled. And I think that was the day she called me and she's like, just took a pregnancy test and I'm, it's happening. And I was like, oh, great.
What awesome. Thanks for, that's good. That's good. What do we do next?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, but I mean, it's hard to remember. I like to think it didn't really change me as much as changed priorities,
Yeah. Yeah, because we're kind of always, we're kind of who we are to some extent. But yeah, and then changing your priorities, like getting things more focused and your whys maybe change a little bit more. When your kids come along, right. A lot of the decision making is like, all right, well, how do I have a future for these kids? How do I keep them safe? How do I,
right.
all that stuff. Yeah.
And were you able to maintain a career and getting paid doing shows or?
After that, I started pretty soon after that, we got signed by a management company. And so I was still working, I'm still in entertainment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a different road. I guess I didn't have as much time for non-work related, creative. But there was a time when we had a deal with Comedy Central. I think she was maybe one, and I left for 2 weeks to go to New York to film, like micro series, comedy series for Comedy Central. And, my wife was extremely and still is extremely supportive of my creative endeavors. Yeah. And so that's always, I think something one of the questions that we may get to later is like, how is your parenting like a reaction to being parented, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think, I don't know. I think my wife and I both had this thing, like the key to us being good parents is being good spouses, is having our satisfying things individually within reason. Like, I'm very, very, encouraging of her going on girl trips. And,
right.
I have, like, for instance, I used to put on a sketch comedy, like a short film, a comedy short film festival. I shot my own movie last year. Like, those are things that, like, we realize, like, I'm a better husband, I'm a better parent when I'm allowed to do these things. Yeah. Right. And I think that's in reaction, I don't want to, like, say that my dad had things left on the table, but, I just know that, like, he didn't always come home in a great mood.
Yeah,
sure.
Gotcha.
And, Ian and I used to joke that, like, boomer dads are only happy when they're at work.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to be the case. Right.
Yeah.
And so I do think definitely I wanted to be a more active dad. Not that, I have any resentment for that, but I definitely know my parenting was kind of in a little bit of a response to that, but also there's great things that I mirrored that my parents did, like, it's funny, like, spirituality is something that when you're in that, I feel like when you're in that, like, great stage of a beginning adulthood where you have no responsibilities, but, maybe going to work and you can be a little bit more carefree. And then this kid comes along and you're like, you fall back on those things that you had as a kid. And you're like, okay, well, I guess it's, like when she was 5, I'm like, all right, I guess we got to put her in Sunday school because that's what I did when I was a kid. And like, and you maybe I have a different sense of spirituality than my parents, but which, you want to, like, impart upon your children, but then there's the mores and the rituals that you're like, well, it's time to remember what we did, and pass that along to them so that they, at the very least, can make the choice.
Right.
I think for us, my wife and I, like, there were a lot of like cultural things that we didn't want. We're Jewish. We didn't want to lose out on the cultural aspects of spirituality. Not so much yes, they were seeing, we showed them what happens at a synagogue, what you do on a Friday night, what you do for holidays. But it was more important that, like, if they need this for peace of mind, get them through their life. Right. Here it is.
Yeah.
Here is, here are some fun family things that, that religion.
Yeah. That's something I think about as Stella's just getting, she's not even 2 yet, but, and I was raised going to church all the time. And, Lauren and I don't necessarily go to church on a regular basis, but just giving her the opportunity to know what's out there and have things that she can, to be educated, to be spiritually educated, that there was a lot of good that I took from the time that I spent going to church on a regular basis and having those rituals and traditions. And I don't want Stella to necessarily miss out on that. So yeah, it's cool that you still exposed your kids to that, and then give them the opportunity to kind of make their decision as they get older.
Well, and it was a nighttime ritual too. It was like, we weren't going to sit there and get on our hands, and like, it just wasn't in our belief system to get on our hands and knees and say a prayer, for example. But we were like, we're going to end the day on positive thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to talk about the day in a positive manner. And we are going to reflect upon that and the idea that there is some higher purpose that connects us all as people.
Yeah.
And we labeled that in a way that was very Jewish, but acknowledging that. But in terms of how they saw what a higher power was always going to be something we wanted them to shape their own opinion on.
Right. That's interesting. That's cool. And have they had like questions as they've gotten older, and have you had the opportunity to kind of meet them? It sounds like you're very like open and understanding and just curious about who these kids are.
What I loved about my takeaway from Judaism was that I could tailor it. My belief system could be tailored differently to myself, differently than someone else would. Right.
Yeah.
Like for example, it was important for me to like at one point in my life to keep kosher. So where I didn't eat pork, I didn't eat shellfish. I separated meat from dairy. And I found a sense of structure with that. And that was good for me. Never judged if someone else was doing it. I found a lot of spirituality in concerts. And as you know, I'm a big Fish and Dead guy. Yeah. And like that to me was a spiritual experience. Same thing with my wife. We went together. That was a spiritual experience for us and, 20,000 other people. Yeah, for sure. And I connected that spirituality to Judaism. And I think what's great, what I also liked about Judaism was it allowed, we were able to question things. And so right now, my youngest is kind of questioning whether she wants to have a bat mitzvah, which, instead of saying like, of course you're having a bat mitzvah, don't be silly. Right. It's, you're allowed to question things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do it when you're a certain age, okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard. It is, because you it's not cut and dry. You think like, okay, does she really not want to have a bat mitzvah, or does she just hate going to Sunday school?
Yeah.
Right. Like where is the truth? And it's not easy for a tween to like always vocalize and communicate what they're feeling, because they don't know themselves. And so I guess we try, when it comes to religion, like it's such a weird thing, because you're not the only person parenting your kid when they're that age.
Yeah.
Right. Their teachers, their peers' parents, that their friends' parents you trust. social media. Like, I mean, they're getting exposed and parented in much different ways. For example, we have good friends who came out of the evangelical upbringing, and when they got to a certain age, they're like, this is not for me, right? And so they didn't introduce religion to their kids.
Yeah.
Now a kid wants to be a part of that evangelical church.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a very interesting,
Right.
Like the thing that she wanted her to be the farthest from.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to continuously surprise you. And like you said, that's actually a really good point. I love that you brought up the fact that at a certain age, you only have a certain amount of time where you are kind of your only source of parenting for your kids. And then at some point, those kids are going to be shaped by multiple different streams of information around them. And then it becomes infinitely more hard to
the
really
influence changes for sure, right? And I do think it sounds like with what you've offered both the girls is they recognize that you are giving some freedom to think on their own.
Yeah.
And so I assume they also do check back in and ask the questions or when they have something.
Yeah, I know the 11-year-old is chirpy. Like she asks a lot.
She got a lot of questions.
You appreciate most of the time that she's inquisitive. Sometimes she's just asking questions just because we always say if her feet aren't running, her mouth is.
Right,
so.
right.
But the 17-year-old's got it figured out, though, right?
Everything.
But so one thing I want to go back to is when you were doing this Comedy Central for 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
That's a pretty long time. What was it like for you to be away from your daughter for 2 weeks, even though you knew she was in great hands? And was there anything like a developmental thing that you noticed just from 2 weeks being apart with her being so young?
Yeah, they changed so fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can put my finger on that. 16 years after the fact, but I'm sure, you come back and like, she recognized me. Right. There's a guilt factor. I mean, I even remember, when I was performing comedy and I would go out and do a show. And at the time, the theater company I was with was very brand new. And we would sometimes have big audiences and sometimes have none. And some nights when I would finally get away and be able to go perform, it's not the guilt that I'm not there parenting my kid. It's like, it's so much work having an infant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the guilt was, oh man, you're going to work, for 10 hours, you're coming home tired and you got to do everything.
Yeah. But it sounds good that your partner, your wife, like you said, is so understanding of that. And how did you guys continue to communicate and support each other during that time? Was there like a handoff, like you come home and she's like, all right, now it's your turn. And how was the trading?
I think especially when, you're looking at like breastfeeding and like you feel like, like she's having to take on so much, like I think, I don't, I feel like you're in a new level of tired.
Yeah.
That it's hard. It's probably hard to like go back and remember. I don't want to say we're just in survival mode. That's not really the case. I just think that we always had this like and still to this day we have this idea like no resentment, right? No, like maybe she's like doing the laundry and I'm doing stuff around the house or taking coaching our kids softball team and I don't think we don't like collect stamps and say like I did this and this, it's your turn to do this.
That's a good point. Yeah, you don't keep a record of that stuff. You just kind of both take care of it all together. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's insane. Lauren will be working a full day and come home, and the first thing Stella wants is breastfeed. Yeah. She started going. She started off saying nom 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 as soon as she gets home, and now she goes milky 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 milky.
I mean, and like, yeah, I mean, I knew I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I mean, there's going to be examples of things where, you're fully willing and able to help with a solution, and they don't want you to do it. And that's frustrating. And for both parents, because, I mean, and one example of that is driving.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Like my wife really wanted me to be the one to do it. And we realized pretty soon that personality wise, she was better suited to be with my wife in that. Even though I probably felt more comfortable teaching, it was just a better fit.
Yeah.
And so that's something where homework, obviously, dating. I mean, like she didn't want, when she broke up with her first boyfriend, like I was like, well, you didn't think that was going to last, did you?
Oh,
like,
no, come on.
You know what I mean? Like, that was my response. It's like, I know you're upset, but like you're 15.
Yeah,
That was going to be forever.
I mean, I thought was a positive way. I'm like, my hope is that you get to like meet and evolve from many different people on your journey towards marriage. Like it's, that was not what she wanted to hear at that time. But I think my 11-year-old, when she's that age,
might get
I mean, it's weird. It's just weird. Like, and I honestly, it's my 17-year-old, we're probably very similar in that regard in a lot of ways. And it's like, you don't always want to hear your inner thoughts.
Right.
You want what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear. I mean, it's like, yes, I understand, Dad, that I understand that probably that wasn't going to be my forever. But what I want to hear is, hey,
this first.
he's making a mistake.
He's going to regret this. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Michael, thank you so much. This has been, honestly, it's refreshing just to catch up. It's cool. I never heard some of this parts of your story before, and I just love everything that you shared. Do you have any like wisdom that you want to share before we get to a dad joke, which I'm sure you have a pretty good one, with dads who are just about to have kids or maybe have young ones?
Yeah. I mean, I've said this to other dads, and honestly, I've said it to friends who have issues with their parents still. And that is that, like, children don't come with a handbook. You know what I mean? There's no anathema when it comes to a kid. You can read all the books you want, but the truth is, like, you've got to be willing to adapt. Yeah. And you've got to be, you've got to give your parents the benefit of the doubt that they did their best.
Right.
Take it one day at a time, and wrap that baby up at night. Like the what is it called? Swaddling?
Swaddling.
You got it.
If you're not swaddling, you're doing it wrong. That's the one rule.
Yeah.
Because there are times where, like, she really doesn't like it. She doesn't like it. And I'm like, okay. And then,
I think you talked to me about swaddling before we had Stella. I think you remember you saying something to me about that. Yeah, you really have to get them nice and tight. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember there were times where Stella would wake herself up from a dead sleep just by moving her arms. But if you hold her, like, I felt like I was doing something wrong. But if you can immobilize them and get them just wrapped up tight, learn how to swaddle. There's a couple different ways.
I remember somebody saying, like, after Nathan was born, it was just like, the swaddling you do for at least 4 more months, because it's like the next trimester.
Oh,
it's like the fourth trimester, and then that just it soothes so much, which he needed. He had so much sensory challenges at birth, so that swaddling was huge. But it really is. It's like being in the womb. It is being held.
Yeah.
Everybody in that first 3 months needs sleep.
Yeah.
Like, everybody needs sleep. So you got to maximize sleep. So swaddling. That's
totally.
That's a great tip. So, do you got a dad joke for us?
I mean, I have a dad that like only exists in the land of dad jokes, and I was thinking of some of his like, and it would be like what's the one he says all the time? I'm trying to think of the setup. It was like it's like someone would say like, "Are you going to get a haircut?" He's like, "I'm gonna." Or did you get a haircut? And he's like,
yeah.
I got them both.
I got them all cut.
Both cut.
Or and then the other one, which may not be culturally appropriate, but he would come out of like a big meal, and he says this joke all the time. He comes out of a big meal, and he's like, "I gotta go visit my Asian friend." Toilet.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man.
And I'm like, these groaners, like, but now you find it, you do when you're like wanting to be funny for like 7 and 8 year olds. That's where dad jokes like birth,
totally.
Because you're like, well, I'm not gonna tell them the joke I got from the centerfold of Playboy.
No. Not yet. They're not ready for that. They're not ready for that.
I'll save that copy though. Yeah.
Yeah. But you want to make them laugh, and that's where dad jokes are born. And then they get to be 10 and 11 and they just roll their eyes. Now my favorite is to take their stupid language and use it against them. Like everything is low key and
or
everything
fire.
eats fire.
Actually,
and they'll like, you can't say that. I'm like, I know, I am trying to ruin all these stupid things that you say.
I can. Here's the thing about adults: we could say whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, that was great. Oh, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, but treat.
I can't wait to catch up with you next time we're in Atlanta. And if you're ever out in Colorado, come through. Come ski with us.
I would love to be out there.
Come shoot something out here.
Right? I do need to shoot something out there. Fine. Yeah. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Man. All right.
All right.
Michael. Great meeting
to catch up
you.
with
Thanks
you.
for being on
That's
the show.
boring.
Man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
You only get one spin around this rock. You only have so many days until it stops. And how you show up for your kids, well, that's your superpower. You might not know it now, but this is your Pappy Hour. Pappy Hour, let's talk it out. What's it like? What's life all about? Oh, Pappy Hour, say your piece. Laugh at yourself, slap your knee.